Hello everyone, my name is Honey Lou, and today I'm going to do a video about my top 5 tarot decks and why. And I'm going to try really hard to be more vulnerable and explain why I love these decks and how they read for me. This is going to be a very challenging video for me because I'm not good at explaining stuff. I am, some people are very good at articulating what they feel and explaining and communicate. I'm not. I'm more of like, I feel things and then that's kind of it. I don't really communicate well, but I am working on that and that's a goal of mine. So practice makes perfect. I'm going to allow myself to suck at this. So thank you for watching. Okay, I'm going to do this in order, but I'm going to do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so I had a hard time picking the 5th one because I had two kind of like competing for each other. And so the one I picked was the Golden Rider Tarot. And I was going to pick just the original Centennial version of Rider-Waite-Smith. But this is my unicorn deck, and I think this deck is just a smidge more prettier and more my style. But this was a unicorn deck, and it has like the really pretty backs. Okay, so why do I love this deck? It's very colorful. I am a very colorful person, but I'm very traditional. Usually I like traditional decks, but I like it when they do like a little bit more to it. Okay. How do I explain this? Okay, so the Visconti deck. This is a reproduction, and they kind of like jazzed it up a little bit. And so the older one, it's just ugly. It's not as beautiful as this. And this was actually one of my picks too. But so, like the Rider-Waite-Smith is not ugly, and it reads really well. I prefer the Centennial one because it's more bold, and I like the colorings. Like I think it looks good like all around aesthetically and like the way it feels. So it kind of checks all the boxes there. And I do think the Centennial is very beautiful, but I think this one's more beautiful. Is that a word? But I do love the pinks. Like pink is my favorite color. I don't know, did I show you the backs? Oh yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, but I just love the pinks. And this deck reads like Rider-Waite-Smith, so it's just a jazzy up version of Rider-Waite-Smith. And this was like a unicorn deck for me. And I don't know, I like the orange. I like the color palette of this deck. And the reason why I love Rider-Waite-Smith is because it's like, you see human bodies. And so there's a lot of body language you can go off of, and like this is a really easy deck to read for me. So yeah, Rider-Waite-Smith is like one of the most popular systems out there, and usually more people prefer that system for a reason. And it's because like it's illustrated pips and it has a lot of body language. Like you could see his emotions, and you can't go wrong. The only thing I don't like about Rider-Waite-Smith is that, it gives you what you need. It's straight to the point. That's what I like about it. It's straight to the point. What things that really kind of took me away from Rider-Waite-Smith was because, oh, I love this card. It's so beautiful. Was because I wanted to learn more. Like I wanted to learn like, okay, well, why is One of Cups like that? Like why, like where did they get this from? Where is this all formed, the system? Like I didn't know anything. Then I learned about the Kabbalah, and so I was kind of dabbling around, but okay, anyways, this is just straight to the point. If you don't want to learn anything about Kabbalah, like, this is a good deck, and it's a good starter deck. But you can't go wrong with body language, and I really like the coloring. I like the way this deck makes me feel, and, like, look at that. And it's so vibrant. And, like, usually when I read with a deck, I want to, like, will feel like, you know, I want to love it. I want to feel the love for the deck that I'm using. And this deck, I feel love for it. I don't know. And it's, am I explaining it right? But for a long time, this is all I knew what, tarot was the Rider-Waite-Smith. You know, you would get like Art Deco or just kind of different stationary gifts and stuff, and you would get like tarot, you know, stuff that were decorated with like the lovers or the moon, the sun. So I would see that all around growing up. And so this deck brings like nostalgia, and it's all around a really good deck. And yeah, that's all I could say about that. Okay, number 4 would be this deck. And the reason why I love this deck, it's by Pablo Robledo, Tarot di Marsella. So I just got this deck, but you know when you have that feeling in your, you know, you just have that feels like when you already know you're going to love a deck, and then when you get a deck, it already feels like home. So this is how this deck feels. Like it already feels like I know it. And I really love the eyes, and I love that it's a cleaned up version of Marseille. I really like the coloring, so like the coloring does something for me. And I like that it's clear, it's not messy, and I like how small it is, like it shuffles really good. And it's part of tarot history, so of course I love it. But this deck specifically is, I love it because, I don't know, I just want to pick it up and read it. Like it's something that grabs my attention, and it's a deck that I really want to learn. So, you know, I don't really like to read decks by the systems, like, but I want to learn, like, you know, history. I want to read it, learn by the book, but I have my own personal interpretations of cards, and, you know, and this is just what my personality is, I guess, and I like more of the line work, so, like, this is the kind of art that I prefer. And Rider-Waite-Smith, like, and Thoth, they first got their idea, they went off of a Marseille deck. So Marseille is like kind of like where it started, and I think that's very fascinating. And but look at all the detailing, and I love the face expressions. These people look like, you know, they look like anybody. This deck, like, I feel comfortable with it. It makes me comfortable. I relate to it. Why do I relate to it? Maybe because it's more of a line work, and it's not so, like, realistic, and it's warm and inviting. And it's cool. I don't know. This is hard. How does it make me feel? I feel joy. I feel... This one I have to, like, I have to think more about, like, or, you know, it's not, there's nothing really distracting about it. It just gives you a symbol. It's a tool for you to use. And I just like looking at the cards. I don't know. This is so hard. But yeah, okay, so yeah, it's part of tarot history. I wanted to learn about Marseille, traditional stuff, historical stuff. This one just I fell in love with this deck, and I love the backs. It's a really good system. I feel like I'm gonna learn a lot from this deck, or just Marseille system in general, because this is where I get all my inspiration too for like making my own deck. Like, it's Marseille is what I usually want to kind of like do my own twist on. I don't want to do a twist on Thoth. I don't want to do a twist on Rider-Waite. I want to go back to the basics of, like, you know, tarot history, and then figure out what my intuition wants me to make. And that's how I want to make my deck. I don't want to make it a Rider-Waite Smith base. I want to make it like, I want to go off by this deck. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes, honey, it makes sense. Okay, number 3. And that is another Tarot de Marseille Millennium Edition by Wilfred Houdini. And another one I like. This is my number 1 favorite Marseille deck. This is actually the second Marseille deck that I purchased. But it's just, yeah, that feeling you get when you look at a deck and you know that you're going to love it. This is how I felt about this deck. And like, the line work really is intriguing for me. It says Honey Lou Wilson right there. And it's just a better done up Marseille. You see everything clearly. I think this, oh, look at her little Toto. Yeah, it's very inviting. It's non-judgmental. I feel empowered using this deck. I feel smart using this deck. I am very intrigued by this deck. But yeah, it's just another favorite version of Marseille. This is, I want to get to the basics of tarot, and I want to learn everything about tarot history and the main systems. And I just found this one to be one that was a winner for me. And I don't think this deck would ever stay at, like, it would always be in my top 5s. Marseille is so interesting. And yeah, I just definitely want to, like, really learn my own. Like, I just want decks, basically, that I like to look at, and I want to use decks that I love to look at. Like, it's that feeling you feel inside that you're like, oh yeah, this is a deck that I want to work with. And this deck I just had a very good connection with right away. When I first saw it, I was like, yep, that's mine, and I bought it for my birthday, and it never let me down since. And it's just a good tool. I don't know. I really love this deck, though. And I love the white space. I love the bright colors. You know, you could look at a Messy Marseille and go, I don't want to diss on Messy Marseilles, because you know what? I'm still going to try Messy Marseilles. But right now, this is what I'm attracted to, is the cleaned up versions. Okay, so number 2 of my top 5. I keep my 2 top 2s in here. This is my beautiful bag I got off of Etsy. I really love this bag. And look what's in there. So, my number 2 is Kazanlar Tarot by Emil Kazanlar. And then I keep these little crystals in there. This is one of my favorite little crystals. It's clear quartz. And I keep them in my bag so it's nice and charged. This is my bag I carry around with me everywhere I go, even when I go upstairs in the house, or when I'm putting baby to bed. I usually take it with me, or when we're gonna chill, Netflix and chill. These are the decks that usually I just take this bag. And yeah, so Emil Kazanlar. So how I got introduced to this deck was YouTube. Most of my decks that I found, except for this one and this one, um, the other ones like Golden Rider, Kazanlar Tarot, and Thoth, like the greenie specifically, were how I found out about those decks was YouTube. And that's like a really good resource for most of us people on YouTube, or people who like to watch YouTube, is we get ideas from other people, and that's how we scout out decks that we love. And that's what's awesome about YouTube, is that people do walkthroughs and show you, so you know what deck that you connect to. And right away when you see a deck on there, you know that you're going to connect to it or you're not. And then if it's like iffy. So like all of these decks that I'm showing right now, they're decks that really spoke to my heart in a way. And it was instant like first love for me. And so like there's other decks where people were like raving about, and I would get them, but they weren't speaking to me from my heart. And so then I learned to like trust my gut instincts about buying decks. And now that I'm like kind of narrowing my deck collection and picking only decks that I love, and like it would be really cool to find like 50 decks that I absolutely love, you know, like that's the goal, is just to keep it minimum, and but have each deck be a meaningful for me in a way of like that I really, really love it, and like decks that I really want to work with. And yeah, I don't want to just keep decks because I have them. I want to keep them because I love them. That's it. Okay, so anyway, so Emil Kazanlar, the first time I ever saw this deck was off of 22 Teachings, and then I saw Anna at Astro Lady Tarot had this deck, and then Jonaki. And I used to go on their their YouTube and rewatch the flip throughs and stuff because I loved it so much, and I just waited for my turn to get it. And no regrets. Like I really love this deck. And so when I was looking for decks too, I wanted a deck like Rider-Waite-Smith, but I wanted it to be more colorful, like the Golden Rider. So I got this deck way before Golden Rider, and I just really like how colorful it is, and like there's this symbology, and I feel like this is like its own system on its own, but I think it reads really well because of all the body language. There's just so much stuff to study, and it's a deck that really captures my eyes and my attention, and I really love the guidebook, and this deck is very welcoming and gentle and honest, but I love the coloring does something to my intuition, and the body language is really good in this deck, and I got to learn more about mythology, and like there's like a bunch of symbolism, like there's symbolism right there and like all right there, and I love that everybody's like dressed up, so it's like more of like a PG-13 deck for me. And I like how small it is, and the coloring, I don't know, like I really love this artwork, and it's like I'm always so intrigued of like, where is this from, and how did he do it, and how come he learned so much? Like I'm always just so in awe with this deck, and the fact that like it's painted art too. So as you could see, most of the decks that I love are like more painted art. And there's just so much detailing. Like I get so lost in these images. Like this is like the prettiest Queen of Swords ever. But yeah, it just speaks to me. I think it's one of the most beautifulest decks in the whole world. I love the borders. Like this is just everything that I would hope for in a deck. It checks all the boxes for me. I love the backs. Mine's used, but I don't know, I just get excited. Like I feel my heart opening literally when I when I use this deck. And when I look at the images, like, I don't know, it just does something for me. And the star, like, how can you get more creative? And like, look how beautiful she is. And like her outfit, and like all of these symbols back there. There's just so much. And there's like a book. Oops, sorry, there's a book right there. And then there's just like different cultures. So it's just a really beautiful deck. And there's no deck like this deck. It's so unique. I love the Empress. See, look at, you could see his emotions. And like there's just interesting stories, and I really love the guidebook. And it suits my personality. Like, this is just what I like. I like color everywhere. And it's like he has a way of doing it where he puts color everywhere, but it's not too over the top. I think it's just a perfect amount of colors, and this is a deck that I really want to learn to study, and I want to master this deck. Like, I want to learn it by the book, and I want to have my own interpretations of the cards. But I actually, for all of my decks though, like, this is just a tool. This is an art that I want to look at when I'm doing my own interpretations of what I think the card is. Like, so every deck that I use, like all of these decks, like, it's gonna be the same meaning for me. But these are just the decks that I love and I love to look at. And they just do something for me, and they speak to my soul, and this is just my personality. I don't know how else to explain it. But I just find this deck so magical and comforting, and you know, it has a good balance of light and dark, and like even like the mythology stories he has in here, like, you know, there's a darkness to all the stories. So I mean, like, and then it's like the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. That's how I feel about this deck. It's like they're still empowering, but they have darkness. Like, they've been through shit, and they're telling me it's okay, that you've been through shit too. And something very healing about just looking at that deck. Okay, so my Thoth deck. So this is my favorite deck in the whole wide world. The reason why is because, like, it checks all the boxes. I love the card stock. Like, yeah, it checks all the boxes for me. Like, I love the length of this deck, the way it feels when you're using it, and I love all the colors. So what's cool about this deck too, though, is like when you get a reading, and the colors of, like, so the pips are so expressive too, and then, you know, if you get like a really beautiful reading where all the matches, like the colors are matching really well, and like they're like in harmony, you could definitely tell like it's going to be a good reading by the colors. Like, if you could see like different, you know, different colors that are not really, they don't look beautiful together, you could tell that something's off. Like, you could definitely do a reading with like the coloring. So there were some readings I had where like I would get like just like these beautiful combinations of the cards, and it would just look so beautiful laid out, and it would already be a beautiful reading because I would, you know, it's so expressive, the pips are, and the color, like, it's so bold too, and like I definitely want to learn more about this deck. Like, it's very intriguing. I want to learn every little thing about this deck, but I also want to add that to my own interpretation of the card. So I don't read decks by like, so Aleister Crowley has a certain way of doing it. I appreciate Aleister Crowley and his method, and I learned so much from Aleister Crowley, but like I'm still gonna have my own way of reading, and but I still want to learn everything about him. I want to learn everything about these cards, and it's still a work in progress. And this card makes me feel very empowered. This is my favorite card in the whole wide world. Like no other deck has this Empress card. And when I look at the Empress, like I feel beautiful. I feel empowered. I feel like I could be like these people in the art. And the way, like, you know, he makes everybody in the characters, there are not Lady Frida Harris, like how she does it and how they describe these characters, I think it's very beautiful and very empowering. And I feel like it's a very mature deck. And I learned a lot about alchemy with this deck too. And I feel like this is a very good spiritual deck. And also, like, I feel like it's a deck that's already been through hell and it's already at the end of the tunnel. Like, it's already at the light. Like, it has scars and wounds from all the shit that it went through, but it's beautiful and it's perfectly imperfect, but it's, you know, you have to, and then like the kind of attitude this deck has is like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I'm just gonna be me. And that's how I feel about this deck, and I appreciate that. And like it's just so expressive, and I feel super honored to use this deck, and like being able to experience this deck and have it in my hands, and I don't know. I'm never gonna get tired of this deck. But yeah, it's just very empowering for me, and I don't know, I feel like it just kind of tells me like I've been there before and you're gonna get through it. It's my multi-purpose deck, like it's my shadow work deck, it's my comfort deck, it's my soul deck. And they're like big people, so the Queen of Wands, like you could tell they're like huge people, like you know, Wonder Woman, what do they call Amazon people? Well, I'm like 6 foot, and like so I feel like these people kind of in an army in a way. They're Amazon people. You know, they're like confident and large and huge, and it's just, I don't know, they just, it feels like home. And I don't know, hopefully you guys could understand what I'm saying, and I'm sure you guys have same like ideas of what you think makes a really good deck or why you pick your own decks. But for now, this is my tools that I love to look at, and that's why they're my top 5. And yeah, hopefully this made sense. Thank you. Bye.